Hey YouTube, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm excited for this one today because this video is applicable to anyone who is contributing to their retirement or is even thinking about getting started. I know that when I first entered the workforce and began my investing journey, a lot of big terms were thrown around, and while I did my research to find out exactly what each term meant, there was so much ambiguity in that early stage of my retirement planning, and I wish I had someone who could help me sort it all out. And I bet a lot of you are dealing with a lot of the same problems that I was as you decide to open up IRAs, 401ks, and if you decide if you want to go the traditional route or if you want to go the Roth route. If you've already started your investing and personal finance journey, you probably have at least a basic understanding of what each of those terms meant, but let's quickly break it down before we get too deep into the analysis of what to actually pick. Before we jump in any further, let me point out we're going to be talking a lot about tax incentives today. Please note, I am not a tax advisor at all, or a CPA in any way. I'm just sharing information I've learned as I've made each of these investment decisions myself, and I thought I could pass along some of that information that I've learned. As always, it's good to consult with an investment advisor and a tax professional as you're making these decisions and planning for your financial future. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get back to the good stuff. Now, the biggest benefit to opening an IRA or a 401k or another type of a retirement account is going to be tax incentives. For the most part, those tax incentives fall into two categories: Roth and traditional. Now let's break down what both of those terms mean, starting with Roth. A Roth investment account allows for investors to put in post-tax money, which essentially means that you've already paid taxes on it. However, once that money is in your account, it will grow tax-free and can be withdrawn tax-free at age 59 and a half. That means that while you take a hit on the money you put in up front, you'll save a ton of money on the growth of your investments over time as they grow completely free from further tax hits. So for example, let's say that you opened up a Roth IRA, you've been contributing to it regularly, which means that you've been paying taxes on those upfront contributions. And let's say at age 60, your Roth investment account has $500,000 in it. That means that total amount is yours to either be withdrawn or to continue investing. You can take it out, put it in your bank account, and not pay a dime in further taxes. Although I wouldn't advise pulling it out, keep it in there and keep it growing. Now, moving over to traditional retirement investment accounts, which is typically either a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k. This almost works the complete opposite way. All of the money you put into these are tax deferred, which means you do not pay taxes up front on the money you put in. So for example, let's say you made $80,000 in a specific year and put $20,000 into your 401k as a tax deferred benefit. That means that at the end of the year, you would only be taxed on 60% of that income that you earned, which is the $80,000 that you earned that year minus the $20,000 that you invested into your traditional 401k. But back to the traditional tax incentive, Uncle Sam obviously wants his money eventually. So at age 59 and a half, you're able to withdraw funds from that account, but those withdrawals will be taxed as regular income. So to break that down, let's look at another example. Let's say at age 60, you have $500,000 in an account with this tax benefit and you withdraw $100,000 from it. You will now have to pay income tax on that $100,000. You have more money invested because you didn't pay tax until this point, but now that it's time to withdraw, the government wants their share. So yes, this benefit is great as it allows your money to grow faster by not taking taxes out up front. But I almost view this as the government's way of investing in you. While they take a hit on taxes up front, they eventually get to collect taxes on a greater amount because that money has been invested. I view it as a win-win, but I just want to point out the benefit for the US government as well. All right, so we've broken down the difference between Roth and traditional. I've also thrown out the terms IRA and 401k, so let's jump in and define those next. To put it simply, both are accounts that were made for retirement investing. IRAs can be opened by anyone as long as they meet certain income criteria, which we will expand on a little later. 401ks are accounts that are provided or sponsored through your employer. So to open a 401k, this must be a benefit that is offered to you through your work. There's also products that are called solo 401ks that are for individuals who are self-employed, but this is a topic for another video. Both 401ks and IRAs have different rules and restrictions, like who can contribute to them, and also have different contribution restrictions. But once the money is in there, they act very much the same. Both accounts can be either Roth or traditional. Roth and IRA are often connected to each other, but it's important to know that you can actually have a Roth 401k as well. Now that we've defined those key terms, let's jump into the 4 types of investment accounts that we're going to cover in this video. So we're first going to jump jump into our IRAs, starting with, like we just mentioned, the Roth IRA. This type of IRA has the Roth tax benefit where you pay taxes on the money you put in up front, but then your investments grow and stay completely tax-free. Now, the government recognizes that this is an extremely powerful investing tool and that they ultimately take a tax loss on it. So they've implemented some restrictions on who can contribute to it and have imposed some limits on how much you can actually contribute. All right, restriction number one, you must make below a certain amount to contribute to a Roth IRA. In 2022, to contribute, your modified adjusted gross income must be below $144,000 a year for individuals or $214,000 a year for couples. Restriction number two, contributions must be with earned income. So basically, if you don't make any taxable income, you can't just have your parents give you $6,000 to put in your Roth IRA. The IRS will catch this if they find you've contributed money to your Roth IRA, but you haven't reported any income for that year. So if you decide to put $6,000 in your Roth IRA for the year, make sure you also have at least $6,000 worth of income and that you report it to the IRS this tax season. And restriction number three, contributions to a Roth IRA are capped at $6,000 for 2022. But note that if you're 50 or older, you can contribute $7,000, which is what they call catch-up contributions. All right, so that covers the Roth IRA. Let's move on to the traditional IRA. Traditional IRAs have the traditional tax benefits. So any contribution to a traditional IRA will be subtracted from your taxable income for that year. But remember, you will owe taxes when you withdraw the funds in retirement. These traditional IRA accounts also have restrictions and limits that you must follow, but they differ somewhat from the Roth IRA. Restriction, or more so, point number one, there is no income restriction on traditional IRAs. Anyone, regardless of income, can open and contribute to this type of account as long as they adhere to the next point, which brings us to point number two, which is, again, any money that you contribute to a traditional IRA must be earned income that you are reporting to the IRS for tax purposes. So make sure that you're not just getting $6,000 from your parents and putting it in a traditional IRA. And restriction number three, again, these accounts also have a contribution limit of $6,000 per year. And it's important to call out that this limit is for contributing to all IRAs. So you can't put $6,000 in a Roth IRA and $6,000 in a traditional IRA. It must be $6K total between the two, or $7K if you're 50 plus years old. And I just want to make an important note. These restrictions and requirements for these accounts are always changing, often annually. So make sure you're constantly checking in with the rules listed above to make sure you are staying in line with the IRS's requirements while also maximizing the benefits for both of these accounts. All right, we've covered IRAs, so now let's jump into 401ks. Like I stated earlier in the video, 401ks are employer-sponsored or provided investment accounts that offer the same tax incentives that we just discussed with IRAs. Now let's jump into a few specific details that are a little different about 401ks. One big perk that is often associated with the 401k is what is called an employer match. Not every employer offers a match with the 401k program, but more and more companies are electing to offer this to employees. Essentially, an employer match is when a company will match all or a portion of your contributions to your 401k plan up to a certain percentage. So for example, let's say your salary is $100,000 a year. You elect to contribute 15% of your income to your 401k plan, while your employer will match contributions 100% up to 5% of your income. And I get it, this is all a little tricky, but it means your employer will match every dollar 1-to-1 up to 5% of your income. So if we break down the numbers, that means that if you're contributing 15% of your income, you will personally contribute $15,000 to your 401k every year. And because your employer is matching those dollars 1-to-1, it means they are contributing $5,000 to your 401k every year. And just like IRAs, 401ks generally fall into two categories. Again, there's always some one-off products out there, but for the most part, people will usually have two options. And again, that is the traditional 401k and the Roth 401k. The traditional 401k offers the same tax advantage as the traditional IRA, which is deferring taxes until you withdraw in retirement. For the year 2022, the contribution limit for 401ks is $20,500 for individuals and $41,000 for couples. And again, remember, if you're over the age of 50, there is an increased limit. So if you're over the age of 50 and you're an individual, you can contribute $27,000 and $54,000 if you're a couple. And there are no income limits on the traditional 401k. Anyone can contribute regardless of income. All right, next let's move to the Roth 401k. The Roth 401k is something that a lot of workers aren't even aware of and a lot of employers don't offer. I even had a difficult time learning about this when I was setting up my 401k with my work and my first job. Just because your employer offers a traditional 401k 401k does not mean that they also offer a Roth 401k. Roth 401ks are definitely less common, but they are becoming more and more popular, and for good reason. Roth 401ks offer the same tax incentive as Roth IRAs, where you pay taxes on your contributions upfront, but then your investments grow and can be withdrawn tax-free in retirement. Roth 401ks have the same contribution limit as traditional 401ks. And similar to the traditional 401k, Roth 401ks have no income limits. This is a key point because remember, Roth IRAs do have an income limit. So if you find yourself above that income limit for a Roth IRA, a Roth 401k could be a great way to get that Roth tax benefit. Roth 401ks are extremely popular because they offer similar benefits to a Roth IRA, but they are better than the Roth IRA because the contribution limit is much higher, roughly $20,000 versus $6,000. And there's no income restriction like I just mentioned on the Roth 401k. So this can be a great wealth building tool for those who may be above that income limit. All right, so we've broken down the different accounts and the difference between Roth and traditional. So that brings us to the finale of the video, which is going to be an analysis on which one is better, Roth or traditional. And the answer, which may be disappointing, is that totally depends on your situation. It totally depends on your income and your tax situation. But just for fun, let's run some numbers with a key set of assumptions. So let's say from age 25 to age 65, you work full-time, averaging $100,000 per year, and you invest 15,000% of your income towards retirement. I get it. These numbers aren't super realistic. They're very clean, but it's going to make the analysis much easier. For tax assumptions, we are going to use current tax brackets, but keep in mind that these are always changing. We are also going to assume that you are single. Either way, this analysis should give you a good gauge, but always remember to run the numbers for yourself and for your own situation to get a good snapshot of your financial path. Either way, this analysis should give you a good gauge, but always remember to run the numbers yourself for your own situation to get a good snapshot of your financial path. And because each state handles income tax differently, we are only going to look at federal income taxes in this calculation. For investment growth, let's assume a conservative growth rate of 8% per year, and that will be our list of assumptions and our detailed scenario. All right, so first let's break down the numbers for a traditional path. Let's say you go the traditional route and invest 15% of your income into your traditional 401k plan. That means that you are investing $15,000 and not paying taxes on that upfront. We're not going to include an employer match because we just want to see the effect of the tax benefit. So after doing that, at age 65, you would have roughly $4 million with the exact number here. If you assume a withdrawal rate of 4% annually, that means that you'll have a pre-tax income of roughly $160,000 per year. But remember, because this is a traditional 401k, you haven't paid any taxes yet, and you will have to pay taxes on that $160,000 that you just withdrew. Assuming today's tax brackets, you would have to pay $40,000 in income tax, leaving you with $120,000 in annual retirement income. Not bad. That's $20,000 higher than your average income throughout your working career. So that's definitely a great situation to be in. Now, let's look at the other side and let's see what would happen if you did a Roth. If you decided to use a Roth 401k or Roth IRA to fund your retirement, you would have also invested $15,000 a year. But remember that you pay taxes on that upfront. So at your current tax bracket, you would have actually invested $11,601 after paying taxes. At age 65, you will have a little over $3 million invested with the exact number here. If we also assume a 4% withdrawal rate, you would have an annual income of about $124,000. Remember, the Roth benefit already had you pay taxes and doesn't make you pay taxes on the growth of your investments. So the great news is you don't owe any taxes on that money. So with an annual income of $124,000 with the Roth account, you can see that that is slightly higher than the traditional method. But remember, depending on your financial situation and what your tax situation is, these results may vary for you. Typically, higher earners are better off deferring their tax liability by using a traditional retirement investment account, with the idea being that they defer taxes while their taxes are currently high and then pay taxes when they're in a lower tax bracket. The reason I say that is because there's definitely circumstances where you can come out ahead by going the traditional route versus the Roth route. As I mention all the time, it's important to run the numbers yourself, work with your investment advisor, and if you want to, work with a tax professional and they can break this down for you much more accurately and much more fine-tuned to your specific situation. Now to close, there's a point that's really close to my heart that I want to make. There's so many investment options out there. There's so many different accounts, so many different tax incentives that you can get, that investing can seem very intimidating and very daunting. I just want to point out that at a young age, the most important thing that you can do is just to start. Don't get so wrapped up in all the decision making that you get intimidated and don't do anything. The example I just showed you showed that the difference between a traditional account and a Roth account can be extremely small. So if you're stuck on a decision, just pick one and start investing. You and your advisor can always make changes later on, but you can never go back in time and start investing. So again, I plead with you, just start, pick an account, and start investing for your retirement today. And that's gonna do it for the video today. I hope this information was helpful and I hope this was fun to listen along to. Please leave a comment down below. Do you prefer the Roth method? Do you prefer the traditional method? I'm curious to know your thoughts and your feedback. As always, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching.